Hello and welcome to this edition of the webinar. Our topic of today's discussion is: can a safety officer at workplace be legally held offender and arrested or punished for an occurrence of an accident or a mishap? The discussion for this topic will be conducted by Mr. L.B. Sinha, a senior bureaucrat at AskEHS. However, let's take a look at a short video that introduces this topic for us. We have been listening to various cases where after the fatality on the site, the police and the civil administration have searched for the persons who hold the responsibility for the safety performance. Sadly, the occurrence of mishap is considered a lapse by safety department. Hence, the easiest and the most convenient identification for such person goes to the safety officer. They are blamed by all the concerned authorities, including public, workers, press, police, and administration. And surprisingly enough, even by the organization chain of command, such as supervisors, departmental managers, and managing directors or chief executive, who, in the event of commotion and public unrest, want some easy scapegoat to bear the brunt. Unfortunate to say, such absurd, unbelievable, and peculiar happenings take place in India and most of the underdeveloped and developing countries who do not want to learn, see reason, study law, and take correct measures. That is why, in this webinar, we have tried to present the world scenario, the legal framework in India vis-a-vis those in the advanced nations, the right arrangement that carries the purpose and sense. Roles and functions of safety officers. All the forward-looking nations regard and adhere to expert ILO recommendations and include them in their legal frameworks. Appointment of safety officers is one such important legal inclusion. Their role is to assist the management and the departmental managers to implement the legislation in respect of occupational safety and health. But the essential point here is that the managers should have access to help the safety officer to fulfill their legal requirements and achieve an acceptable standard of health and safety. However, such appointed persons will remain as advisors and not assume responsibility in law for OHS matters. This responsibility will constantly remain with the line managers and cannot be delegated to anybody in advisory capacity. They hold the total charge of the work, and this arrangement cannot be otherwise in any way. Above all, it is important that the safety officers are given due status to be able to advise management, employees, and their representatives with authority and independence. Remember, safety officers are to have authority to stop work if it contravenes agreed standards and puts people at risk of injury. Let's now look at requirements as a safety officer. A safety officer works as a specialist who shall provide general advice on implementation of legislation, OHS management, risk assessment, control measures, and monitoring performance. And for this reason, there are few requirements that must necessarily be there in the safety officer, such as he must be technically qualified with engineering degree or diploma, a specialist in OHS management advanced diploma, should have updated information on civil or criminal laws with its interpretation and application, must have multidisciplinary technical knowledge, training abilities to develop and maintain procedures for reporting, investigating, recording and analyzing accidents or incidents, and should know the establishment of organizational arrangements or systems and risk control measures. Who is responsible and accountable for health and safety performance? As per law, international norms and world's best practices, for the entire organization, the managing director or chief executive, for the department, the departmental head or manager, and for the work team, respective supervisor. It is clear from the law that a safety officer shall not incur any civil liability by reason of the fact only that he failed to do anything which he may do or is required to do in terms of the Act. Duties of a safety officer. As per Indian Factories Act 1948 and associated state factory rules, Section 40B and subsequent state factory rules, for example, the Odisha Factory Rules 1950 Rule 61. The duties of a safety officer shall be to advise and assist the factory management in the fulfillment of its obligations, statutory or otherwise, concerning prevention of personal injuries and maintaining a safe working environment. The other duties that shall be included are: advise the concerned departments in planning and organizing measures necessary for the effective control of personal injuries, recommend on safety aspects in all job studies, and to carry out detailed job safety studies of selected jobs. Check and evaluate the effectiveness of the action taken or proposed to be taken to prevent personal injuries. Advise the purchasing and stores departments in ensuring high quality and availability of personal protective equipment. Provide advice on matters related to carrying out plant safety inspections. He should carry out plant safety inspections in order to observe the physical conditions of work, the work practices, and the procedure followed by the workers, and render advice on measures to be adopted for removing the unsafe physical conditions and preventing unsafe actions by workers. Give advice on matters related to reporting and investigation of industrial accidents and diseases. Investigate selected accidents and cases of dangerous occurrences and industrial diseases contracted reportable under Rules 97 and 98. Advise on the maintenance of such records as necessary relating to accidents, dangerous occurrences, and industrial diseases. Promote setting up safety committees and act as advisor and catalyst to such committees. Organize, in association with the concerned departments, campaigns, competitions, contests, and other activities which will develop and maintain interest of the workers in establishing and maintaining safe conditions of work and procedures. Design and conduct, either independently or in collaboration with the training department, suitable training and educational programs for the prevention of personal injuries. The occupier of the factory shall provide each safety officer with such facilities, equipment, and information as are necessary to enable him to discharge his duties effectively. No safety officer shall be required or permitted to do any work which is inconsistent with or detrimental to the performance of the duties prescribed in Sub-Rule 3. Note: to enable the safety officer to discharge his duties independently in spirit of law, an important safeguard in his favor is given as, in the case of dismissal or discharge, a safety officer shall have a right to appeal to the state government, whose decision thereon shall be final. Please pause and think. This data is enough to compare where the world stands and where we are tottering, what is required as per law, and what we practice. Rest all, we would leave to our viewers with the positive hope that someday dawn shall break on Indian horizon too, and we shall also view the light of the day. Thank you.